Hello, how are y'all? I hope that this finds you well. My name is Burgess Taylor. I'm also known as Journey with Burgess, and today we're going to be talking about my writer bullet journal. Now, I've been doing writer bullet journals for years. When I first started, I put everything in it. Anything and everything I could put in there, from the books that I was reading to redundant things for recording how many words I wrote, all kinds of stuff. Now, since then, I have streamlined how I use a writer bullet journal. Now, if you don't want a separate bullet journal, you can put everything in your one bullet journal. But I tend to like to do my planning for my writing separately than my regular everyday planning. I do include write on my regular habit tracker. I do also include, like, I'll maybe write how many words I wrote, or like a time frame of part of when I'm going to write during the day. Like, I'll block off that time. But as far as like what I accomplished or what I wrote about or any of that goes in the writer bullet journal, which is what I'm going to show you today. Now, I'm doing a collab with Evergreen writing Oasis. Tamara from Pen Paper Pad is a good friend of mine. I've known her for a long time, since I first got on YouTube, pretty much. And she and several other people have done this free virtual writing retreat. Like I said, it's called Evergreen Writing Oasis. It is tailored to fit the needs of the writing community, so they have a lot of different things. The topics span from drafting and outlining to diversity in the writing community. They're going to be having a big broadcast over the weekend of July 17th through July 19th. So I think, don't quote me, I'm going to leave you the link to Evergreen Writing Oasis below, as well as the Instagram for it. They have merchandise, t-shirts, stickers, mugs, all kinds of great stuff. I am going to be ordering mine in the morning, so hopefully within a few weeks I will have my mug and my t-shirt. So I'm pretty excited about it. I have several different videos about my writer's Bible, and that's what this is. This is a Janelle Fish A5 Traveler's Notebook. Janelle is not making Traveler's Notebooks at the moment, but this is custom. I had a engraved typewriter put on the front of it. I have one of my little Snoopy charms. I also have a sterling silver typewriter, which needs to be cleaned because now it looks black. And I have a sterling silver tarot deck charm. So anyway, we get to here. And this is a Rhodia dot grid notebook. It was sent to me by a friend, and I was like, oh, this is perfect. Perfect. I have the exact use for it. So I stuck my typewriter sticker on there. This is the writer, because this is all about the writing. So, and as a writer, I need to keep up with stuff. I really do. I need to stay organized. What I use in my bullet journal really depends on what I'm doing. I use Pigma Micron. I use Faber-Castell. I use fountain pens. I use Sharpie pens. I use ballpoint pens. And I use mild liners. I have Crayola Super Tips as well as some Tombos. So usually if you see something that's a little bit darker, bolder, whatever, it's usually a Crayola Super Tip or a mild liner. These are made by Zebra, and they are double-ended. They're dual-ended. I have an index, keeping it really simple. I have my July setup. Now, you're going to see writerly quotes within my bullet journal. They help keep me inspired and motivated. There is something delicious about writing the first words of a story. You never quite know where they'll take you. Beatrix Potter. For my log, I've kind of stuck to most of the bullet journal method, but I'm not daily planning in here or rapid logging or any of that. This is actually just to keep all my stuff for my novel and my writing and my outlining and stuff organized. So the first week of July for Camp NaNoWriMo, I was working on my nonfiction book, which is about creative journaling. And over the weekend, we didn't do very much of anything outside of working on our house because we are having to redo our floors. We had a really bad leak in our house, so I took time off from writing. I will be taking some time off from writing this weekend because it is my grandson's birthday party, and I'm going to get my mom on Saturday. His birthday party's on Sunday. I knew this ahead of time, so I knew that's why my word count goal is only 25,000, because I knew I'd have to take quite a few days off during the month of July. My birthday falls in July, so I'll be taking a little bit of time off for that too. So this week I've been working on the Witchy Business novel. Yes, the Witchy Business novel. I want to finish this novel. The only way I'm going to finish this novel is if I work on it. So I have right here, I have these columns, and I have info, data, or goal. So right here, I have my word count goal. I started at 1,600 because I was going to try to do more so I could get ahead. And I have just decided to keep it at 1,500 on the days that I'm writing and then work from there. Now, on today, I chose to do editing and to get some things done with the outline because I'm fixing the outline. I transferred some things, moved some things around in Scrivener, wrote down some things in my writer's Bible. When I finish this book and I start working on the second book or the edits, I will be using this as a series Bible, so that I'll have a notebook for each novel in it. I won't need everything like this. So anyway, it'll be changed, and that's one of the great ways about having things set up the way that I've set them up. So today I wrote hours, and I wrote 2.5 hours. So I have an arrow, and I will put down the equivalent of what the word count would be. And then chapter 1 I was working on. Today I actually just worked on the novel in general, so I wrote novel. Over here on the right where it says notes, it says nonfiction novel, and then here it says fiction novel. It says book 1 of Carolina Witches series. Now this is the actual word count, so I have not fiction starred. This is the part of the novel. So on this week I was working on the introduction and art for my nonfiction novel. As I go through, I'll be keeping up with what I'm working on and when. Now there might be days where I work on both, so I'll just write a slash. I'll have to write a little smaller, but that's okay. So down here I have my goal, which is 25,000, and my total, and then I will have how much I got done in each novel. I have actually have 3 lines, so I have more than enough room to write down what I got done in both novels. You can't edit a blank page, Nora Roberts. Now one of my favorite quotes, one of my favorite writerly quotes is, if there's a book that you want to read, but it hasn't been written yet, then you must write it. Toni Morrison. I have been wanting to write a book like the Witchy Business novel for a very long time. It's one of my ultimate goals. And I really want to write a book about creative journaling. It's one of my other ultimate goals. So that's one of the reasons why I chose. At first, I was just going to work on the nonfiction book, but then I was like, no, I really need to get working on the Witchy Business novel. So that's what I'm doing. This is about outlining, and it's about keeping track of where I'm at in the novel. I'm more of a pantser at heart, y'all, and I outline, but I'm more of an act and a chapter outliner than an actual scene. Now I'll have something in mind for a scene, like for dialogue or something like that, but when it comes to real outlining, I'm more of an act and a chapter person. So I know my beginning, my middle, my end. I kind of know about what's going to happen, especially when it comes to conflict, goals, and motivation. I'm very much a character-driven writer when it comes to fiction. So I'm going to delve really deep into my character, the protagonist at first. And then I'm after I kind of get her really down and out, I've got like all the ins and outs of her, then I'm going to delve into the antagonist. And as I go through, I will delve more and more into each character that is a major kind of character. The mentor, the love interest, those kinds of things. So I have a timeline of what should be happening in my novel, and I've based that on Save the Cat and on the hero's journey. Hero's journey to me definitely is more of a character-driven kind of thing for me, because it's what is the character going through. It's their ordinary world. It's when they're being called to adventure. Are they going to refuse the call? They're going to meet with the mentor. They're going to cross that threshold. Okay, that whole first act is about departure and separation, you know. And so Act 2 is descent, initiation, penetration. It's the getting into the new world and all of that. So like for Save the Cat, it's the new world. It's the fun and games, you know. So we have the test, the allies, and the enemies. The approach to the inmost cave, the ordeal, the reward. Even the words sound very much more character driven. When you're talking about Save the Cat, to me it's more plot overall driven. So you have the opening image, the theme stated, the setup, the catalyst, the debate. Now, the inciting incident is the life-changing moment. You know, Act 2, you break into 2, accepts the call. The B story is the love interest. Usually, there's other things it could be, but for me, it's going to be the love interest. Fun and games, that's their new world, and it's all fun and games in the beginning. And you have the midpoint. You're going to have this false feeling of victory. You know, the bad guys are going to close in, and things are going to get absolutely worse. The all is lost. You know, that's the dark night of the soul. So you get to the lowest points just before the dawn's what they call it. Over here, it's called the ordeal. So I have them listed this way so that I can kind of keep track of them. Let me live, love, and say it well in good sentences. Sylvia Plath. Tears are words that need to be written. I love that one. Now this is quite messy, but that's okay. It's my bullet journal. I'm all right with that. So here's my introduction of character information. So it's going to be names. And I realize I need to white that out. I need to white that out because I've changed this. I haven't transferred everything from... Whoa. I haven't transferred everything from the old bullet journal into the new bullet journal. That's the great thing about correction tape, y'all. This is the setup for the settings, and I have to find some pictures to print and put here, and to also put in my Scrivener project. I like to have visual representations, so I will put the pictures in Scrivener. I will also put them in here. I like to have it all like, so when I look at this and I'm looking at what I'm doing, I'm keeping track of things, have a visual reminder. So these are my ideas. So some of the setup, what I was going on, how did I want to do this? Research the areas of Scotland, the area between Charleston and Beaufort. I want to research and Salem, Massachusetts. I want to figure out the proper name for my... It's not the it's the person the antagonist works for, so it's who is behind the antagonist. I need to finally come up with a name. I need to create a family tree for my protagonist and antagonist. I have a vision board in my room. I will insert a picture of it on my wall in my room behind my door. It is a vision board of my novel, and I will insert it into this video at the end so you can see how I like to kind of, because I will go back and look at the vision board because I've got it mapped out. The outline is actually sort of mapped out on this poster board. It is my novel vision board. So these are important facts. Now, some of these things are things that I need to remember later on, especially since it's going to be a series. But throughout the novel, I want to continue to say the correct name of a street that's near whatever. I need to make sure that I say the same color eyes, or the same kind of hair, or the same kind of shoes, or the same, or that if she walked into a room with a backpack, and then 10 seconds later, you know, she walked into the room and she had a backpack, and then she leaves the room and there's no backpack. What happened to the backpack? Is she supposed to be having the backpack? Is the backpack important? Because if the backpack isn't important, I don't need to include it. So that kind of information. Now I'm going to be doing a full-on biography for each character, but here is my opening image for my prologue, and I have it already written in Scrivener, but I've gone through and talked about some things in here that I have questioned myself about, so that when I go in and I rewrite and edit, I know to cover these things. I'm not changing my prologue right now during Camp NaNoWriMo. I'm only adding words and highlighting things that I know I need to change. I'm not deleting words. Not deleting words. I'm going through and moving bits into folders and highlighting them so that I know, do I want to keep this scene? Do I not? Does this belong in this chapter? So I have a picture of a cabin with a really big tree. It looks kind of like a hobbit cabin. It's really, but it reminds, it's the feeling that I get when I look at that. Here's a woman meditating, and this is something important for me I need to remember for the prologue. And then I have a lamp with a picture and a clock and some books. And this says, rising from the forest, a silent moon. So here is my opening image of my character's ordinary world. And I have a picture right here. And then we get to her drive back to her hometown. So something big is going to happen. We've got the beginnings of the inciting incident. Something happens, but it's not really the inciting incident. And I have this steering wheel stereo, and it says, there are far, far better things ahead than any we leave behind. C.S. Lewis. This was in a magazine, and I took it out because, one, my main character is going to be driving back to her hometown. Two, very much, this quote is very, very much, I might even put that quote in for chapter 1 or chapter 2. But and it's raining, and it just set the mood for that chapter. So then we get to the service for her grandmother, and I've put a sticker here with a sticker over it that it makes it look like there's sort of almost a mirror around her, and it says gifts of the goddess. And then there's going to be 2 services. One is going to be the regular service for the town that's more Christian oriented, and then they're going to have the witchy service. They're going to have a family wake, and she's going to have a meeting with the grandmother's lawyer. So I put this picture here. I really liked how that looked. It's the feel. So then we get here, and I'm going to be writing some information about the grandmother. And I tipped in this, it's crinkly, looks like a newspaper. And I'm going to be doing some writing, some information about the novel, some outlining. It's the feel that I wanted. And then we get, these are some of the things that I wanted to remember. So I drew this picture of the grimoire, and I have like bookcases with a lot of books, and then there's this cubby with the blankets, and I wrote Graham's grimoire because she's going to be looking for the grimoire. It's a very important kind of thing. It's a very important part of the novel. So I put that there. And then that's really all I have in here so far. That's as far as I've gotten, because I'm changing some things, but not so much the outline, the core of the story, but how I have things arranged and how I have things worded. So that's what this is. And then we get to this notebook, And this is just a Hobonichi notebook, and it is where I've done the tarot outline, the outlining with tarot. So I've listed the ordinary world, all the different parts of Act 1 and Act 2. I haven't finished. I've got to go in and finish. That's what this says. Finish the outline with tarot. It's in. I did this in a whole video series, and I had a whole I had a board of everything done with this with tarot on it and everything. That's, I think that might be in the other room. I'm not positive. I don't have that out anymore. It took up so much room. So now I have the vision board for the novel. I've got to finish writing all this information in here. And then we get, I've started this. I have the stickers of the cards for the prologue. Stickers of the cards for chapter 1. And I'm going to go through each one and put them in here. And I'll have and I'm going to write down what I feel like now that it's been a few years since I originally did this. What I feel like when I'm doing, when I look at these cards, what does it mean now versus what I got when I very first did this outline, and to see if anything's changed, to make sure this is where I really want to go with the novel. What does it mean to me now? And then this I've had since November of 2016, that original NaNoWriMo. I have it, here we go. Move this over. November 1st, 2016. I do a lot of writing by hand. If I'm stuck on a scene, stuck on a chapter, if I'm stuck with, I know the character needs to get to this point, and I'm like, oh, how do they need to get here? What's going on? What do I need to do? The antagonist, or the love interest, or the mentor, and I need to put it all together. I will write by hand. I have actually spent a whole NaNoWriMo writing by hand. Was it Camp or Nano? Might have been both. But I like to write by hand. This is a Leuchtturm lined, and so I have, this is old stuff. So, like I said, I'm revamping. I don't know how many times I've done this, but I feel better, and it's a way to get back into the story. So, that's what this notebook is for. And then this notebook, my son gave me several of these quite a few years ago, and I put dialogue in here. When I'm out and about, grocery store, Starbucks, before quarantine, I would hear dialogue, and it would make me think. So I would take notes. I carry a notebook around with me all the time in my purse or my backpack. Whatever, I always have a notebook with me and a pen. So I will take down notes of the dialogue, and then when I get home, I'll write down the dialogue, and I have it written down, and I'll transfer it, and I'll think, okay, what is it about this bit of dialogue that made me think this would work for my novel? Or if it's a bit of really good dialogue and I know I want to use it in a novel, but I need to change it around, but I don't know what novel I'm going to use it in, I'll put it somewhere in my notebook. And usually, before my other one, you see I have the names right here. I would put it in the back, and I would put I'd highlight the paper with a marker, so I knew there was something back there that was important for me to look at later, but it had nothing to do with a novel that I'm currently working on. So this is my writer's Bible. I have things set up so that I can take any one of these out at any time and work on, if I need to handwrite for a while, I can take this notebook and my pen and my cup of coffee, go sit outside at my picnic table in the backyard and do some writing on my novel without feeling like I have to be sitting at the computer. Sitting at the computer and the computer screen after a while can get kind of old. I like to do it the old-fashioned way. There's something about picking up a fountain pen or a ballpoint pen and writing, any kind of pen, really. I like roller balls, felt tip, and fountain pen, really, for writing. But there's something about pen to paper that really helps get my creative juices flowing. So if you have any questions at all about my writer bullet journal, how I use a bullet journal for writing, the core method of bullet journaling is really an organizational method. His book has some great information about it. If you need to put all of your stuff in one bullet journal, you could use some of the writer stuff as collections. You could use a calendar. Let me get my actual bullet journal. So if you wanted to use your actual bullet journal, like you could use your future log for word count. A lot of people do that because a lot of people, they write every day, or they want to keep track of how many words they write every month. You could do that. Use a future log. You could take your calendar, and over here, instead of notes, you could have word count and write down your word count. I have a log here. I could extend the log over here, and I could have the same thing that I have right here over here in my regular bullet journal. You could have right here writer bullet journal video. I was supposed to get that filmed Wednesday, so I'm a day behind, and that's okay. I did film it, however I couldn't find the file, and that's because it saved it under the wrong thing, and iMac wouldn't even nothing, because it wasn't MOV, it was APV or API, or I don't know. So now I have everything saving as an MP4 or MOV. So you could have your part of it. I do have writing right here. So you see my 2 days on the 4th and 5th, I did not write. I have written today though. Well, not writing, but not writing. I did write, but I was working on the outline, which is still writing. So you could have things in your bullet journal, and that would work too, if you needed to have it in a regular bullet journal. Now, I think I've talked enough. If you have any questions whatsoever at all, feel free to put them in the comments. Please do not forget to check out the Evergreen Writing Oasis. Like I said, it is a free virtual writing retreat. It is awesome and amazing. They did such a wonderful job, and I cannot wait to get my t-shirt and my mug. Thanks, y'all. Have a great one. I'll see you again soon.